Can sustainable peace be achieved? In 2013, the Declaration of Peace was proclaimed to awaken the spirit of peace. And in 2016, the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW, was proclaimed as the answer for establishing peace and seizing war. Garnering the support of the family of peace across the globe, the DPCW proposed the blueprint for peace. And the 31 rounds of the World Peace Tours were HWPL's sincere journey toward peace. COVID-19 that swept across the world put a halt to everything, including our daily lives. However, our marching for peace continued. Family of Peace in different parts of the globe conveyed the news covering peace activities via webinars, donated blood plasma to end the outbreak as soon as possible, and held prayer meetings transcending religion. We also celebrated the historic day on which we laid the foundation to resolve the Mindanao conflict with a single word, peace, and sought ways to bring harmony among religions through warp offices. HWPL peace education has been actively carried out in various countries to foster children, who are the leaders of the future as citizens of peace. Can sustainable peace be achieved? Yes, we can make it happen as long as we continue our efforts. Until the day sustainable peace takes firm root, we will march on. We are HWPL.
Greetings, welcome to the 5th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. I am Lee Yoon-hee, the MC for today's event. The Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, or the DPCW, composed of 10 articles and 38 clauses, was proclaimed on March 14, 2016. And today, we're celebrating the 5th anniversary of the proclamation in Seoul, South Korea online. Many participants have gathered for the celebration. Thank you for your participation, although we meet only virtually. Currently, COVID-19 is becoming more than a threat to the lives of individuals. It is leaving deep scars in different parts of the globe. Even amidst such a situation, our enthusiasm and endeavors for peace did not stop. As it is shown through the title, Marching On Towards Sustainable Peace in a Pandemic Era, HWPL will continue its journey to garner support at an international level to firmly establish principles of peace. For instance, the Mindanao region in the Philippines has been implementing principles of peace proposed by the DPCW. The local government endorses the DPCW, designated an HWPL Day to celebrate peace, and provides peace education that instills virtues and good characters to youth, the leaders of the future, in elementary, middle, and high school, as well as state universities. Furthermore, media often covers news on warp offices that promotes understanding and dialogue among diverse people of faith, and campaigns that are led mainly by youth and women. Please note that today's event is being held in strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols and social distancing. As the first part of today's function, let us watch a video clip with messages congratulating the 5th annual commemoration of the DPCW.
Greetings to all the peace messengers around the world. Congratulations on the 5th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, and I hope that peace lies within your mind. HWPL has been constantly working for sustainable peace culture since its foundation. I sincerely thank HWPL Chairman Man Healy, who always takes the lead in the work of peace, and I also thank our peace family around the world who participate in the peace activities together. Even in the difficult situation of the post-corona era, HWPL visited place where peace was desperately needed and spread a seed of hope to the precious family of peace. HWPL has not stopped taking steps towards peace and continue to keep positive energy to the world. DPCW, which marks its 5th anniversary today, is the backbone of HWPL peace activities. DPCW aims to be an integrative international law that encompasses various international laws throughout history and was created with the sincerity and research of HWPL and the International Law Commission. In the world where DPCW is realized, there is peace that transcends nations, races, and ethnicities, and this desire is getting closer through activities of HWPL. I am sure that DPCW will bring peace to the whole world. Through today's ceremony, we will confirm our support for DPCW once more. With your support from all walks of life, I hope that DPCW will be enacted officially as an international law soon, and I hope DPCW can show its true value and deliver peace to our descendants. Once again, congratulations on the 5th anniversary of the DPCW announcement. I hope this precious time will lead to new inspiration for your cooperation and peace. We are one. Thank you very much.
Dear friends from HWPL, I'm Igor Josipovic, former President of the Republic of Croatia. For many years, I'm part of common efforts to reach everlasting peace. The peace is, together with human rights and freedom, with love, health, and mutual understanding, the most valuable essence of humanity. Today, we are celebrating an anniversary of Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, created in frames of HWPL. I congratulate to all of you contributing the effort to present this declaration to be accepted in UN. Hope the noble goal to reach the everlasting peace shall be reached. Let's bring our hands together. Let's make all people, especially world leaders, to accept this valuable declaration.
Hello everybody, I am Hrant Bagration, former Prime Minister of Armenia. It is my pleasure to extend my congratulations on the 5th occasion, annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, marching on toward sustainable peace in a contractless era. Among my lifelong experience on keeping peace in and outside of my country, I believe we are living the most difficult time to protect and develop the peace work we have been doing so far. An unexpected virus made the whole world stop economically, politically, and worsened the environment for our peace family who are dedicated to peace and humanity, which are equally essential as the other conditions of life. However, I was thrilled to hear that HWPL did not stop working for its only goal of establishment peace even in this situation. HWPL successfully found the way to continue peace initiatives online without losing its scale, passion, and initial values it pursued from the beginning. And today is even more meaningful as the DPSW was proclaimed to the world. as a key to open an era of peace. I still remember all the works you have done to globally promote DPCW for the sake of our future generation, just like yesterday. That's why I am encouraged by your steadfast work, and I promise to encourage my country to keep marching forward to a better society with peace, order, and love. Thank you for showing what you are doing in the whole world. It gives us an assurance that our efforts for peace will not go in vain even with pandemic threats.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you for the wonderful messages. We'll have an opportunity to see the progress made thus far with the peace activities of HWPL as well as the DPCW. Mr. Pravin Parekh is the chairperson of HWPL International Law Peace Committee and the president of Confederation of Indian Bar, who has invested his time and effort into drafting and proclaiming the DPCW. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause as he'll share the DPCW progress.
Declaration of World Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW Progress Report. I address you as the chairman of HWPL International Law Peace Committee. HWPL Chairman Man Hee Lee, who has the determination to inherit a world without war to the future generations, declared the need for implementing international law to cease war and achieve peace through the Declaration of World Peace that was introduced on 25th May 2013. Following this, 29 former heads of state, chief justices and leaders around the world gathered at the HWPL World Peace Summit to sign the agreement to propose the enactment of international law on 16 to 19 September 2014, making this the first time in history where many political leaders came together. In order to achieve this goal, 17 international law experts from different countries were appointed on the first anniversary of the HWPL World Peace Summit as the International Law Peace Committee to lay the groundwork for drafting international law for peace. After countless sessions and conferences, the HWPL International Law Peace Committee and the chairman Man Hee Lee wrote the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW, and this was declared to the whole world on 14th March 2016 at 3:14 p.m. at COEX in Seoul of South Korea. To create a peaceful world without war, we need practical laws and systems rather than just wishing for peace. Furthermore, all countries must keep these laws, and with this spirit as the basis, peace culture should be spread to all regions. As a result of HWPL has included comprehensive content that can actually achieve peace, including clauses that can prevent war in the DPCW. HWPL has the intentions to inherit a world of peace without war to future generations by implementing this declaration as legally effective international law. From the day the declaration was issued, HWPL has actively engaged in activities to gather DPCW supporting countries along with the Legislative Peace LP project and initiative to realize the DPCW being carried out by the youth, women and other civil society organizations around the world. Particularly in 2017, the DPCW was adopted as a resolution at Central American Parliament, and in 2018, MOUs were signed with the African Union's legislative body, the Pan-African Parliament, PAP, composed of members and speakers of parliaments of 55 countries on the African continent, and the International Centre for Black Sea Baltic Studies and Consensus Practices Center BBS, which consists of former presidents of the Eastern Europe. There was also support from individual countries, starting with the Eswatini and Seychelles on 10th August 2018. The Foreign Ministry of Commerce and also the Office of the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, which officially supported the DPCW in February 2019. In December of the same year, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Saint Vincent and the Grenadines officially made statement supporting the DPCW. In addition, HWPL works with civil societies around the world for peace. The youth and women from each country, as well as civil society of different walks of lives, are showing their support by signing the DPCW and sending handwritten peace letters to heads of state and neighboring countries to urge them to support the DPCW. So far, more than 1 million signatures and handwritten letters have been written in a total of 176 countries. HWPL is actively engaged in activities not only to introduce the DPCW into international law, but also to realize each clause of the declaration. HWPL has been operating a World Alliance of Religions Peace (WARP) office in 252 locations in 129 countries since the 2014. HWPL World Peace Summit to actualize Articles 8 and 9 of the DPCW, which were proposed to resolve the conflict among religions, one of the main causes of the war. The culture and spirit of peace that Chairman Lee emphasizes are delivered to the youth and children, who are the protagonists of the future, through the HWPL Peace Education, which is presented as a way to maintain the peace word under the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW. There are 308 schools in 42 countries around the world that have been designated as HWPL Peace Academics and signed MOUs to implement peace education in their curriculum. History is not made by time, merely passing by. The same goes for this work of peace that is being done by HWPL and peace messengers all over the world. Despite the global pandemic, HWPL's peace work continues. We thank everyone who joined us on 5th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. With this, we will conclude the progress report. Thank you. 14th March 2021, HWPL International Law Peace Committee Chairperson Praveen H. Patil.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. We ask for your continued support and cooperation for the peace initiatives HWPL will carry out this year. Now it is time to listen to 4 of peace speakers. The first is Mr. Kieran Burke, who's a member of the HWPL International Law Peace Committee and a professor of international law at Friedrich Schiller University, Jena, will give his remarks on the topic of the significance of the DPCW. Please welcome him with a loud round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Professor Kieran Burke, and today I have been asked on behalf of HWPL and the International Law Peace Committee, ILPC, to give you a brief introduction to the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW. The DPCW is a proposed international declaration drafted by the ILPC and appointed by HWPL. The ILPC was tasked by HWPL with the creation of a legal framework to secure peace at both national and international levels. And the ILPC is comprised of international law experts from 15 different countries. Now, the declaration was unanimously approved by the ILPC on the 14th of March 2016. It contains a preamble, 10 articles, and 38 clauses. According to the preamble, it is founded on the conviction that judicial and other dispute resolution measures can replace the rule of war with the rule of law, and determined to pass on to successive generations an invaluable inheritance of a world free of wars. The legal changes that the Declaration's drafters hoped to bring about are subtle and modest in nature, but aim to improve the state of international law concerning war and peace and make it fit for society in the 21st century. Today, limitations on the use of force can be found in international law, most importantly in the Charter of the United Nations, which effectively, via its Article 2, Paragraph 4, makes wars illegal. The Charter has long been hailed as the genesis of a new international legal system where war, once termed by Karl von Clausewitz as the continuation of politics by other means, has become a prohibited act, and where any use of force by states must fall within one of the narrow exceptions to the general prohibition set out in the United Nations Charter, with the two principal examples being the inherent right of states to defend themselves, prescribed by Article 51 of the Charter, and enforcement action sanctioned by the United Nations Security Council under Chapter 7 of the Charter. Now, the Charter provides for a framework, as I have said, that makes war illegal, allowing only for narrow exceptions. But the Charter is 75 years old. While its successes are clear, in recent years it has been argued by many scholars that the United Nations system alone, while still important, is not sufficient to preserve international peace. And this statement would seem to be borne out by the fact that the Charter framework failed to provide a means of ensuring the responsible use of force in Iraq, Syria, or the former Yugoslavia. As such, time would seem ripe for the updating of the international system. Now, the DPCW should be seen as a response to these shortcomings. Indeed, at present, it may be said to represent only the beginning of this response. While HWPL are working tirelessly to secure support for the Declaration amongst state governments, the Declaration has yet to be endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly. But this remains the medium-term goal, namely to convince the governments of the world that more needs to be done in the name of peace. While the present international legal framework has, in the context of broader history, enjoyed significant success in reducing the frequency of war, more can still be done. And of course, conflicts have changed in the last 75 years. The DPCW is drafted to some extent to take account of the evolution in international politics and the failures of the existing international legal norms that are dedicated to securing international peace. Now, it's important to note that the DPCW does not aspire to be a cure-all, and that deliberate choices were made by the ILPC during the drafting of the document. In order to understand this, it is important to emphasize that international law cannot be detached from international politics. The drafters of the Declaration were keenly aware that politics is, as Otto von Bismarck aptly noted, the art of the possible. While a capable legal scholar might be able to craft a declaration, a treaty, or an entire system of international legal norms that would prohibit any kind of violence, such an initiative also needs to be palatable to gain support from state actors. Without the support of state actors, the Declaration will remain nothing more than a legal curiosity, a piece of paper. As such, the Declaration is deliberately drafted in such a manner that it builds upon existing laws to which states have already given their assent, while also endeavoring to progress international law. Now, achieving a progressive agenda in international law is not an easy task. The nature of international law is peculiar and must be distinguished from domestic law. States are bound to obey the rules of international law, but they also make these rules. And states will not be bound by any rules to which they do not agree. To be successful in advancing international law, therefore, the DPCW endeavors to situate itself in the proverbial Goldilocks zones between the twin perils, whereby, on the one hand, international law can just become a description of what states do, or international law can also be a utopia, something that is written down, but that has nothing to do with what states actually do in practice. So the drafters of the Declaration wished to secure the adherence of states to the Declaration's norms, and thus much of its substantive content may be deemed to be conservative, as it restates many of the core obligations that already exist in international law. But equally, the drafters realized that securing adherence to something which states had already agreed would be largely redundant, and thus certain elements of the Declaration may be termed progressive, as they seek to build upon already existing obligations in order to advance the cause of international peace. The strategy of the ILPC members, then, strongly backed and supported by HWPL, has been to achieve the maximum possible level of progress while not being so ambitious as to rule out the possibility that states might adhere to the proposed declaration. Indeed, in the initial conferences of the ILPC, it was discussed whether a binding international treaty might constitute a more appropriate instrument, given that the aim of the committee's work was to secure lasting international peace through the usage of international law. However, in asking what a declaration can do, we only have to look back to the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was the first international instrument to set out many of the core human rights guarantees with which we are familiar today. Onto this declaration was built a succession of international treaties and binding obligations, and as a result, we now enjoy a concrete and substantial system of human rights protection in the world. It is hoped that moving forward, we will be able to build international treaties on top of this declaration, and that the declaration will therefore, the DPCW that is, will therefore serve as the basis of a new system for the protection of peace, much as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has served as a basis for the protection of human rights. This will not be an easy task, but working together, moving forward, we hope that it will represent a starting point, and that it can make a difference in international relations. Man Hee Lee, the chairman of HWPL and ultimately the originator of the idea of the DPCW, has stated that his belief is that heads of state who would go against the DPCW would put their morality into question and fall into disfavor with the global community, culmination of the process of ruling out armed force as an acceptable form of the exercise of power. Now, Man Hee Lee's powerful assertion shows us that the envisioned effect of the DPCW is cumulative, to scale up the moral and political responsibility of world leaders by crystallizing the legal obligations of their government, thereby bridging the gap between law and politics. In addition, the declaration recognizes the shared commitment of all peoples to the promotion of peaceful coexistence, thereby building a bridge between global peace law and ecumenical religious dogma. Taking this message further and showing the DPCW's vocation towards advancing international law, it places legal responsibility on states to deal with situations where differences attributable to religion or ethnicity pose a threat to peace. Thank you very much for your attention.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. Professor Burke mentioned his hope of implementing the DPCW to complement the shortcoming of the UN Charter on allowing wars on some cases. Please give him a warm round of applause. The fifth annual commemoration of the DPCW is currently being held in Seoul, South Korea. Shall we take a look at Seoul at the moment? We can see the beautiful night scenery of the city here. We have not only people from Seoul, but also those from all over the world joining in real time. The fact that people from various locations and time zones have gathered here makes today's event even more meaningful. This time, Syed Abdullah Tariq, the president of the World Organization of Religions and Knowledge, will give a speech titled Religious Leaders' Efforts for the Implementation of the DPCW and Current and Future of Online Religious Peace Activities. Please welcome him with a loud round of applause.
Greetings to all family members of HWPL around the world. I am Syed Abdullah Tariq, the founder and president of an NGO work that is World Organization of Religions and Knowledge in India, which is active in promoting interfaith dialogue besides working for communal amity and understanding between different religious communities. On this historical day of the 5th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW, I would like to congratulate HWPL and Chairman Man Hee Lee. My dream is the recreation of a new world for all human beings with no boundaries or restrictions for anyone, where all the present nations will be its administrative provinces. When I found out about DPCW, with its 10 articles and 38 clauses for world peace and HWPL's resolve to make it legally binding for all countries through the United Nations, I was sure that it was the first step towards fulfillment of my dream. At first, it seemed almost impossible for all nations to agree to bound by DPCW, but the phenomenal growth of HWPL within a few years was also an astonishing feat in itself. In keeping with the heavenly and universally acknowledged principles of humanity, I myself and my organizations resolved to extend our endless support to the DPCW. I also request all sensible, sincere, honest and unselfish religious leaders to strengthen the process of world peace by joining HWPL in their respective countries. Meanwhile, I was invited to attend the 4th annual commemoration of September 18th WARP Summit in Incheon, Korea. I witnessed there a micro world of hope, enthusiasm, passion and self-belief, ready to engulf a new world and ultimately erupting into a tsunami of revolution in a major world. The kids from 5 years of age to a huge crowd of students to a sea of humanity all motivated, disciplined and brimming with energy was a sight that reassured me that the legalization of DPCW by UN for its member states will become a reality in not too distant a future. Our organization work has supported and co-organized many HWPL events in Delhi and Rampur in India before and after my Incheon visit. The very first engagement and cooperation we made for the implementation of DPCW happened in March 2018 when there was a conference in Delhi for the celebration of the 2nd annual commemoration of the DPCW. I was invited as a speaker and my organization members attended the event to show our support in the work of HWPL. At that event, I presented a declaration to encourage India and global citizens to endorse the realization of DPCW. In 2018, during the conference in Delhi for the 2nd annual commemoration of the DPCW, I presented a proclamation in the capacity of being a religious leader, referring to Article 8 and 9 of DPCW, which guarantees freedom of religion and peaceful coexistence of religions and ethnic groups, and also presented a plan and made a promise for my commitment to the implementation of the DPCW. I promise that if my plan was approved, I shall try to share with and spread among Indian society and masses the principles and values of DPCW and use the support of the masses to urge all political parties in India to include the DPCW in their manifestos and to demand the central and state governments and union territories to enact the article of DPCW as legally binding law. In order to keep the promise, in the same year, my organization work conducted a peace walk in Rampur along with the 4th annual commemoration of the Declaration of World Peace. We made placards and shouted slogans in our peaceful rally, and it was witnessed by citizens and the media in India. Through these local activities, more than 1,000 Rampur residents voluntarily applied for membership of HWPL, and whenever there is an event of HWPL in the local community, they are ready to join the event with full support. In March and September of 2019, there were 2 different events in Rampur and Delhi as the parts of Legislate Peace campaign. We are now living in the devastating time of COVID-19 era, and the virus has changed many aspects of our lives, including the way of continuing peace activities in enhanced authoritarian tendencies of the government the world over. This tough situation could have stopped HWPL to halt its endeavors for peace, but it has extended the activities even wider through online platforms. Every month, there is an online World Alliance of Religious Peace Office meeting, and ironically but reassuringly, I was informed last year that more new panelists have joined this initiative online. Also, there was a webinar surpassing countries and departments of HWPL in the last year. So it was online methodology again that connected us to other HWPL workers in different countries and assured us that we are working as one. About 2021, we need to plan and create opportunities and think of new ways to surmount those that happened in 2020. Whenever humanity faces a difficult time era, there has been religion which gives them hope and courage to overcome crisis. Religion has its power to narrow down differences among us and unite us to be strong enough to break through obstacles. HWPL is leading a great initiative that can bring changes in the world by calling us all as advocates of peace. Global community should be aware of it and get involved in it. So I request and encourage world religious leaders to contribute the extension of online activities of HWPL and educate religious followers to become family members of HWPL as well. These efforts will fertilize the culture of peace when the current generation is in desperate need for hope. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you for the remarks. President Tariq of the NGO work urged people of faith to actively engage in online activities of HWPL, including webinars and work offices, to achieve peace together. Please send Mr. Tariq another warm round of applause. Now, His Honorable Umar Keita, the Ambassador and Permanent Delegate of Mali to UNESCO, will give us remarks on continuation of peace education during the pandemic. Please welcome him with a loud round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. I am Dr. Omar Keita, Ambassador and the Permanent Delegate of the Republic of Mali to UNESCO. It is an honor for me to address every one of you on this occasion as we celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, proclaimed on March 14th, 2016. I would like to thank Chairman Man-Hee Lee for inviting me to participate in this prestigious event that gathers civil society actors and government representatives to express their commitment to building a world of peace through the DPCW. My congratulations also go to HWPL's International Law Peace Committee members who have contributed to the development of this legal framework, which has already produced several concrete results for the realization of peace. As you know, the current health crisis, past and present conflicts, religious and cultural prejudices, and ethnic hatred, to name the least, have all hindered the progress of peace in our international community. However, these various ills should not halt our efforts and prevent the pursuit for progress going forward. but on the contrary, in a spirit of cooperation, we must unite to ensure peace at domestic and international levels. In this regard, we should consider the need for a comprehensive legal approach that would guide citizens in their daily lives, regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, and religion. This is where the preamble of the 10 articles and 38 clauses, the DPCW, comes in. Peace must be an inalienable right for all, and everyone must be able to enjoy an environment free from any form of threat or fear. That is why we hope that the DPCW can become an effective legal instrument for peace. Major international organizations such as the UN and UNESCO were created with the very same objectives several decades ago. Indeed, peace is a necessary condition for economic and social development in our respective countries. We all agree that development is not possible without lasting peace. Therefore, we must unite behind the objectives pursued by HWPL embodied in the DPCW, which emphasizes on the reduction of deadly weapons, the prohibition of religious conflicts, and the spreading of a culture of peace. In the forums we have had over the past 2 years, I experienced the impact of HWPL's peace initiatives. I've seen that harmony and cooperation with other similar organizations can create the synergy that we need to work together, strengthen our efforts, and make all these peace initiatives more effective. This is why the exchange of our ideas and the sharing of our experiences are essential if we want to build peace, especially in the current social context. This culture that we have chosen to share is also what HWPL is promoting through Article 10 of the DPCW entitled Spreading a Culture of Peace, and what is also manifested through peace education. Without a doubt, education is more than ever an absolute necessity in a world of confrontation, and it is precisely why UNESCO was founded, to build a world of peace through education, science, and culture. SDG number 4 of Agenda 2030, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, cannot be achieved by UNESCO's efforts alone. But to achieve this goal, we need the involvement of governments, civil society, the private sector, youths, and NGOs such as HWPL to address educational challenges and build systems that are inclusive, equitable, and relevant to all learners. That is why we need to strengthen partnerships and encourage civil society and NGO initiatives towards our common goal. In my country, Mali, we deeply love peace. Malian people have a history rich with a culture of diversity and cohesion. It is in this way that we have welcomed the initiatives of HWPL with open arms. In 2019, several peace camps were organized with students in schools in Mali. And in 2020, peace education training programs were conducted for our educators, including teachers and professors. The results are encouraging, and the feedback from both teachers and students is positive. At the same time, I look forward to the prospective signing of a memorandum of understanding between HWPL and the Malian National Commission for UNESCO. It will solidify our partnership and facilitate cooperation for the implementation of peace education in Mali. Ensuring access to quality education for all on an equal footing and promoting lifelong learning opportunities is a noble cause. But as we know, there is still a long way to go. That is why, through the DPCW, HWPL offers a comprehensive legal framework that would enable us not only to bring peace among nations, but also to teach the younger generations the values of peace and nurture them to maintain a peaceful world. I would like to conclude by reiterating my thanks to HWPL for its trust and commitment. I wish you all a great time. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Keita explained the strength and the potential of Article 10 of the DPCW, spreading a culture of peace through the HWPL peace camps and peace education training programs held in Mali. Please send him another warm round of applause. This time, Mr. Ruben Sapachulu, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations Youth Association of Zambia, will give a speech titled The Role of Youth for Sustainable Peace. Please welcome him with a loud round of applause.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. It is an honor and privilege to be given an opportunity as a youth to speak with my fellow youths around the world on this auspicious event when the HWPL is having its 5th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. My name is Ruben Sapetulu, and I'm currently serving as the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations Youth Association of Zambia, as well as the board chairperson and founder of Rethink Youth Platform. The United Nations is a non-governmental organization whose mission is to promote and support the ideals, missions, and activities of the United Nations, as well as campaign for youth participation in all UN activities, as well as bring the United Nations closer to the youth. Whereas the Rethink Youth Platform is also a non-governmental organization whose mission is to empower and equip young people with skills necessary to allow them drive sustainable development. Before I start, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to HWPL and IPYG for their concerted efforts towards the cessation of war and promotion of peace transcending borders, races, and religions. And as a global citizen and a youth who is passionate about a future that is safe, equal, peaceful, and healthy for all without leaving anyone behind, I stay thankful to IPYG and HWPL for their continuous peaceful activities despite the world suffering from COVID-19. Distinguished guests, we live in a rapidly changing world faced with many anomalies, including atrocities due to wars and conflicts. We also understand that we have not been spared by the effects imposed by COVID-19 pandemic, which has not only threatened the individual lives, but has also led to the unprecedented global socio-economic crisis. This has also affected young people all over the world, more especially in Africa, of which, according to UNESCO, of about 190 countries closed down education facilities, making it difficult for young people to have access to education. Others losing job opportunities, others having challenges accessing health services, and others also having challenges to go on and proceed with their socio-economic activities, of which about 8 out of 10 young people are suffering from mental, physical, child abuse, and countless youths are also affected by armed conflicts and violence, including the political violence itself. However, even in these doomed realities, I love the fact that IPYG stated that together we can do it to the world to overcome this crisis and to protect ourselves. IPYG also emphasized the importance of youth solidarity and suggested a participating worldwide youth discussion platform, which is the Youth Empowerment Peace Workshop, which is the HWPL. This was initiated actually by IPYG. And I'm also aware that of about 40 countries and over 100 organizations are taking part in this workshop, which clearly shows the commitment of IPYG and HWPL towards addressing these global challenges, not by imposing solutions, but by giving the capacity to enable people solve their own problems as well as address their own needs, since they are the ones who are facing these challenges and they are the ones with all solutions. This will also allow participants, as well as young people, including myself, to keep discussing and proposing creative ideas to protect youths and realize sustainable peace. Furthermore, we are also aware that the HWPL also creates a platform for SDG realization, where youths get to be empowered and embrace one another and develop the culture of peace, where we should live as one people of one planet. And with the FW in Africa, education has been seen to be key to Africa's development. So I will support the initiatives of HWPL and IPYG through the provision of HWPL's peace education to Zambian youths in collaboration with the IPYG, and put in efforts and influence to have it realized at the national level as well. I will devote myself to my beloved country Zambia and will become the leading role of young people who live the developed and peaceful Zambia and the whole world as a legacy to our future generations. And in conclusion, I take this opportunity to request all worldwide leaders to support the DPCW in order to spread the culture of peace, unite the youths, end war, and accomplish world peace. I would also like to let you know that I participated in the delivery of 3,000 peace letters to the Minister of Justice in Zambia for the DPCW proposal. My commitments are simply because I agree that DPCW, which HWPL is proposing, is an effective way to bring a cessation of war and world peace. The HW was also inspired by the DPCW's peace realization process. And now, spreading the culture or the peace culture based on DPCW is certainly the way to achieve peace. World leaders, please pay attention and support what DPCW is proposing towards the peace realization process. And surely, we need light when it is dark. Today is that day we need the light of peace. We can do it, and I checked with my eyes, even this tough situation, because about 111 nations and 851 organizations with IPYG are shedding the light of peace. If we work together, if we work as one, if we work as one planet, we can achieve peace together. Let's work together and shade a big light together. Thank you for listening. We can do it, and we shall do it, for we are one. God bless you.
네, 감사합니다. IPYG에서
Thank you very
주최한
much.
워크숍을 통해
Mr. Sapachilu expressed his will to help provide HWPL peace education in his country Zambia for the country's development, as they're discussing ways to address problems African youth face through workshops hosted by the IPYG. He also sent a message to heads of state across the globe to support the DPCW for youth. Please send Mr. Sapachilu a big round of applause once again. Through the four speakers and their speeches, we were able to reaffirm the development potential of the DPCW. Please send once again a big round of applause to all the speakers. Now we'll invite the host and the organizers for commemorative remarks. Three of them are at the Peace Institute, the location where the September 18th HWPL World Peace Summit banquets were held. Here, monuments are erected as lasting evidence of HWPL's peace achievements thus far. Within the building, there's a special location that enables you to witness the peace activities carried out until today. It displays pictures of those HWPL peace delegation met worldwide and their work. Also, there are various documents such as peace agreements, MOUs, MOAs, letters of support for the DPCW, and the declaration itself. Furthermore, the Peace Institute houses precious and unique gifts from distinguished individuals across the globe. Various kinds of gifts exhibited here make it seem as if the cultures of the world are gathered here. The Peace Institute is a home of peace where anyone who yearns for peace can come to. From the Peace Institute, we'll now first invite Mr. Young-min Chung, the General Director of the International Peace Youth Group, or IPYG. Please welcome him with a loud round of applause.
안녕하십니까.
Greetings. As introduced, I am Young-min Chung, the Director of the IPYG. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the proclamation of the DPCW, and it is my pleasure to celebrate this day with you, even though we had to meet online.
현재 세계는
As we are well aware, the entire world is suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. However, looking back on history, humanity has achieved a better life by overcoming various difficulties, such as diseases, technological limits, food shortages, and more. From that perspective, I have no doubt that we'll be able to overcome this global pandemic, though it may take time, and that a new era of prosperity will come. However, one thing we must keep in mind is that achieving our dream of prosperity and growth will be difficult unless we have the foundation called peace. This is because we can still see that the many things we have built up so far, such as technological advances and social development, can collapse in an instant when conflicts or wars take place. This is one reason why peace, justice, and strong institutions was included in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals 2030 agenda. This implies that world peace is an irreplaceable and fundamental value to mankind. This is why Mr. Mani Lee, the chairman of HWPL, along with the members of the HWPL International Law Peace Committee, which is comprised of global international law experts, proclaimed the DPCW to the whole world on March 14, 2016. As you have heard from the previous speech from Professor Kieran Burke, the DPCW is a document that proposes a plan of action with principles of peace that the international community, each country, national leaders, and civil society should observe to build a peaceful world. To elaborate, the DPCW is based on the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, both of which were drafted for the purpose of achieving world peace. Rather than stopping here, the DPCW is structured to go a step further and leave no room for potential armed conflicts. This also gives heads of state and all citizens a sense of duty and responsibility for peace, so that they can be a step closer to fulfilling peace across the globe. Therefore, when everyone follows the DPCW, no one will be able to start a war or a conflict with plausible excuses. Also, national leaders and men and women of all ages will be able to think of peace as basic ethics to resolve conflicts peacefully and maintain a peaceful society on their own. That is why Chairman Lee of HWPL and all the family of peace are referring to the DPCW as the answer for peace and garnering support for the declaration at an international level. While the DPCW was gaining support from various countries, the COVID-19 pandemic, which struck the world, came as a new challenge for us. However, like the saying, where there's a will, there's a way, we can turn this into an opportunity. The transition to a contactless era brought forth a variety of online platforms and technological innovations which enabled us to interact with even more people in different parts of the globe. This can be a good opportunity, especially for those we could not interact with before due to physical distance. Hence, HWPL has been making great efforts for activities utilizing online platforms. Such activities include webinars that inform citizens and students on the value of the DPCW, compare scriptures to achieve harmony among religions, and provide online peace education to the elementary, middle, and high school and university students. In particular, the IPYG is having discussions and webinars with the world's youth who understand the value of the DPCW under the banner of creating a peaceful world with our own hands. In addition, for this year, HWPL will bolster its endeavors to garner support for the DPCW online, actively engage in the UN SDG 2030 online activities, and step up online social contribution to spread a culture of peace. Despite the contactless era, HWPL has continued to prepare important efforts to build a peaceful world. These plans are important, but above all, your participation, as well as that of the people worldwide, are crucial. This is proven true by many pioneers across all ages and countries who have said that it is the voice of the people to whom society belongs that can change the world. I ask you to remember the value of peace that is not shaken even if time goes, and gather your voice for the right cause. Until we achieve our goal, let us march on and make a better world, a world of peace, to leave as a legacy for future generations. This is our value that will not change in the era of the pandemic and even thereafter. Members of the family of peace, lastly, I wish you good health and well-being in your respective countries and regions despite the ongoing pandemic. Always, we are one. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you for the remarks, General Director Chang of the IPYG. Please send him another warm round of applause. Next, Ms. Hyun-Suk Yoon, the chairwoman of the International Women's Peace Group, IWPG. The IWPG carries out women-led peace movement as one of the two wings of HWPL along with the IPYG. Please welcome her with a big round of applause.
Greetings to all family members of peace who have hope of world peace. My name is Hyun-Suk Yoon, the chairwoman of the International Women's Peace Group. It is already the 5th annual commemoration of the DPCW by HWPL, and the family of peace have joined together for the ceremony. This year, we unfortunately could not meet in person and instead must meet online. Although we are physically separated, our heart is united here today under peace. All your work for peace, despite this pandemic, will be recorded in history, and I hope that today's event will remain forever in the hearts of everyone who is gathered here. Looking back to last year, which was harder than ever, we were worried that our movement toward peace would be stranded due to COVID-19. But we took a brief breath, and no difficulties were an obstacle for us. Until the situation is over, it is very important for me and you to protect our health and life first. Even in times of tribulation, where life and death are seen, the spirit of peace is alive, so silently carrying out one's position and being there for one another provides strong strength. I sincerely respect and love all of you who walked and kept the path of peace together in both times of joy and hardship. Chairman Lee, who fought in the front lines of the Korean War, a tragedy of conflict between the same people, founded HWPL to work for peace. He has traveled across the world, transcending borders, races, and religions to meet with current and former presidents of each nation, chief justices, national assemblymen, university presidents, religious leaders, and head of organizations to receive promises through the peace agreement, and in September 2014, the Peace Summit was held in Seoul. At this meeting, politicians promised to enact an international peace law to end war and to achieve peace. Religious leaders promised to create an alliance under God, and the heads of each organization pledged their support. After that, the HWPL International Law Peace Committee, composed of world-class international law experts, was launched to create the 10 Articles, 38 Clauses of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, which was proclaimed to the world on March 14, 2016. For the Alliance of Religions, religious leaders opened the warp offices to compare and check scriptures to bring religious harmony. All women and young adults around the world support the 10 Articles, 38 Clauses of the DPCW, and they are urging for an effective introduction of the declaration into the legal system. Everyone around the world living in the same era are looking forward to these three promises and practices. If there truly is hope for eternal peace without war, these promises must be kept. There are only two paths ahead of us, life and death. Those who keep peace will face life, and those deprived of peace will face death. Our wish is sustainable peace, not war. Until now, there have been many international laws and declarations to mediate disputes, but each era has failed to protect peace and prevent war. That is why, above all, it is important to inform the necessity of an international peace law to cease war. Since war is taking place in all parts of the world at this very moment, an international peace law based on DPCW is essential. Without war, an international peace law is not necessary. However, since war cannot be prevented without laws, 3.8 billion women of IWPG, a wing of HWPL, are also working together with branches and members to urge for the establishment of an international peace law to achieve freedom, peace, and love for humanity. We are in a great era to achieve peace. At this time, each of us will have to do what we need to do, and we will have to do what is glorious for mankind. Heaven, earth, and the world are looking at us. Now, a new era is unfolding that no one has ever walked. Families of peace are also preparing with a sense of duty to meet that era. I ask everyone here to stay with us with the same sincerity until the day of peace. Let us shine even more with hope that the harsh winds will pass quickly and a warm wind will come. We are one.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. Please send Chairwoman Yoon a warm round of applause once more. This time, we'll invite Mr. Man-hee Lee, the chairman of HWPL. Mr. Lee has been spearheading innovative peace initiatives, seeking peace education, religious harmony, and implementation of international law for peace based on the DPCW. Please welcome him with a loud round of applause.
지구촌 평화가족 여러분들,
Family of peace around the world, greetings. It's a pleasure to have all of you here.
무슨 날인지
I am sure you know today's occasion.
HWPL
Today,
국제법
we
제정
celebrate the 5th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War.
우리는 지구촌의 전쟁 종시의 평화를 이루기 위해서
Together, we have been working
함께
for the cessation of war and global peace.
이는 우리가
This is what we have promised before God
하나님
and
앞과
the global citizens.
세계 만민 앞에서 약속을 한 것입니다. 정치인들은
Politicians
국제법을
pledged
개혁할 것을
to work towards an international legal instrument for peace,
하나님 안에서 하나가
and religious
될 것을
leaders pledged to bring religions together as one under God.
그날의 약속 여러분들
I believe you would all remember the promises made that day.
그 이후
After that
이
day,
사실이 지구촌의 전쟁 종식을 위해서 필요하다는
the necessity of these peace initiatives
나라의
in order to achieve the cessation of war
모두 다 함께 의논했고
was discussed. Through visits to countries, I have met with many of you, and we have built a wide consensus for the peace initiatives. Not a single person refused peace. Not a single person wanted war. Everyone, political leaders and citizens alike, all wanted global peace. So, what did we do? Before God and before the global citizens, we pledged to achieve peace and the cessation of wars. The participants pledged all together, and we have all witnessed that day. Also, leaders of civil society organizations promised to call for this work to be completed. Then how are we doing so far? Those promises did not end as mere words on paper. For Law for Peace, the HWPL International Law Peace Committee was established to draft legal codes for peace. An international group of legal experts formed the committee and drafted the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW. The declaration was then proclaimed to the world. When was that day? It was March 14th. I am sure you would remember. The entire global community heard the news. I believe they are all aware. And now, since the DPCW was proclaimed, it has already been 5 years. I am sure you are all well aware of this. And now, we need to turn it into reality. We need to create a peaceful world without war, a place of freedom, peace, and love as a lasting legacy. No wealth or fortune can be worthy of a legacy that lasts for generations. But a peaceful world, free of wars, a world of freedom, peace, and love. These are what we must leave as an inheritance for our children's generations. This is the work we are called for in our times. It is on us as humankind to fulfill this goal. Ladies and gentlemen, this has never changed. Now, you may be wondering how far we have come with the two peace initiatives. Regarding international law, as I mentioned, the HWPL International Law Peace Committee drafted the DPCW, which was announced globally, and work to submit the declaration to the UN is underway. However, the COVID-19 pandemic affected the entire global community, and that led to a current brief stop in the process. But our focus and collective determination for building a world of peace stays strong. I'm confident that no one would reject such a cause. Now, once the COVID-19 situation settles down, we will introduce the DPCW to the UN General Assembly for adoption. As that is our goal, don't you agree? When I visited the UN before, I addressed a conference with ambassadors of the UN missions from member states. I talked about the importance of our peace initiative, and the audience responded with a standing ovation. Then there's no reason the DPCW would not be passed at the UN. The current international law has provisions that say wars must be allowed as needed. Such contexts make it impossible to bring a complete end to violent conflicts. We must give up weapons of mass destruction entirely, and the resources used for manufacturing weapons must be repurposed to benefit humanity. That way, wars will cease to break out. Another initiative for peace regards religion. There is one God, and there is one truth, the Word of God. But why are there so many different religions? This poses many questions and doubts. That said, to bring religions together, I believe they should have the same understanding of the truth found in religious text. Then religions will be one in harmony. Now, how can they find this truth? The answer is comparing religious texts. Which scripture is the most trustworthy? Does it offer true hope? Does it offer certainty? These are some of the questions asked. There are many different scriptures, and some of them mainly contain rules on good conduct from a cultural perspective. But those are the basics. Behaving yourself or being nice is not enough to prevent wars. Reportedly, religions are behind causes of 80% of violent conflicts. That is not what religion is meant to be. When it should be offering guidance and leading by example, religions are named a major cause of conflicts around the globe now. That does not make sense. If religions can come together in harmony, there will no longer be wars caused by religion. Isn't that so? To bring harmony under one God, a common goal, and one truth, the Bible and other religious scriptures are discussed at the World Alliance of Religions Peace Office. This is where leaders pursue the greatest truth to bring harmony among faiths, and so that there will no longer be any wars caused by religious conflicts. Only then the religious community will get the respect they deserve. Religious people now might be compared to soldiers if religion is named a major cause of violent conflict. The religious community must never be named for violence again. You could not call that kind of religion a true religion. The purpose of a religion is to learn from God and pass on God's teachings. Since God is one, religions shall join as one in harmony. To this end, the warp offices are established in different countries. Leaders of various religions bring religious texts and meet to compare and discuss scriptures. I hear there has been great progress at warp offices. Participants have active discourse, they study texts, ask questions within the warp office programs. Such progress encourages the wider religious community to engage in such interactions. I would like to invite every religion to take an interest and participate in the warp office. I sincerely hope and ask for the active participation and concerted efforts of faith groups. When we hosted the HWPL World Peace Summit that was held in Seoul, South Korea, on the last day of the summit, I invited leaders from 5 major religious groups who had attended. They were expected to leave, but I asked them to stay one more day to meet with me. I offered to cover their return tickets to extend their stay, and I presented them with the scriptures of their respective faiths, all 5 of them. Then I asked them 5 questions regarding the scriptures. I asked, "Are these things found in your scripture? I have searched hard, but could not find them in these scriptures. Please tell me where I can find them." So what did I ask them? Does the scripture have prophecies that God proclaimed about future events? And does it record God's prophecy and where they are fulfilled? If so, how many accounts of them are there in the scripture? And what prophecies are yet to come true? These are the 5 questions I asked them. And the religious leaders told me I wouldn't find them in their scriptures. There was none. About my recount of our conversation, the leaders would recall as they listen to my talk now. Then, why has this world become so evil? And why must people kill other people for their self-interest? This is just tragic and unacceptable. This is why we must endeavor to create a world without wars. Now, to trace back to the conversation with the religious leaders, one scripture had answers to my question. And also, although not a religion, records of an ancient prophet included relevant content. But other than that, other religious scriptures did not include any prophecy that would yield confidence or answer my questions. There were no prophecies or their fulfillments in them. Then many of these faiths are more suitable as a way of living for an individual, maybe, or a culture, aren't they? It would be hard to call them true religion. True religion is where people can learn about God's words and the truth given from God. That truth given through someone who walks with God. That person would be a leader who God is with. Only then you can call it a true religion. Wouldn't you agree? I hope my anecdotes highlight the importance of religion and interfaith harmony for peace, which is one of the reasons why the World Peace Summit was held. It is essential for bringing an end to wars, for achieving peace. And for that peace, for global peace, the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW were created with the participation and efforts of legal experts and political leaders. It is a cause that everyone strives for. Let us not forget this day, ladies and gentlemen. Through today's commemoration, let us set our minds on the same goal. Peace is not a challenge set for one individual. Rather, it is a shared goal and a calling for all. Regardless of where we are and what authority we have, every one of us in the global community must become an agent of peace. That is the key to bringing the cessation of wars and establishing peace. I have visited many schools to give speeches and lectures on peace and cessation of war. I've done the same at many organizations, police circles, and at the United Nations.
어디든지 가서
I called for peace and cessation of war wherever I could. I also spoke about peace in China at the Grand Convention Hall, where the vice chairperson of the CPPCC and 10 politicians were gathered. I went to Russia too. My footprint seemed to cover all corners of the world as we worked for peace together. And the meetings did not end aimlessly. I'm sure you know. I signed a peace agreement with everyone I met to work together to achieve peace. I keep every one of those agreements. The Peace Summit was held with that very purpose, our concerted efforts for peace. The HWPL World Peace Summit of September 18th. Our commitment to peace must not become empty chants, but become action. With our determination as we stand united in heart and mind, peace and cessation of war will be possible. Also, I trust that the United Nations and its General Assembly will also approve. Let's make it happen. Today, the family of peace is joining from all across the globe at this peace event. Let us keep our minds together. Once the pandemic is over, I will visit you in your respective countries once again. I look forward to meeting all of you in person and working together to achieve a world of peace. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. Please send him another warm round of applause as Mr. Lee gathers the globe as one for peace. Now we'll watch a video clip on the activities of Sign Your Support for the DPCW. Up to this day, various campaigns were held to establish international law based on the DPCW by politicians, journalists, women, youth, and experts from various sectors. Even amid the pandemic, our yearning and passion for peace continued through the signature campaign. Let us watch the video now.
네, 평화를 위해 만들어지고
The DPCW drafted and proclaimed for peace is the answer that enables sustainable peace. Messengers of peace in the world have shown their hearts and support through their signatures. Our determination and yearning for peace are embodied in this one phrase. Together, we promise peace. The peace messages you have written today will be our goal for achieving lasting peace. With these messages written on our hearts and with the mindset that this is our promise to the world, let us take a commemorative photo while holding the peace messages. Please hold them up so that the messages can be seen well. Thank you. Please stay still until we take the photo. When I say please hold, stay still for 10 seconds. Please stay hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7,
7, 8, 9, 10.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank
이제
you.
메시지를 잠시 내려두고
Let's put the
함께
messages
We are
down
one을
and
외쳐볼
shout,
텐데요.
"We are one"
제가
together.
하나, 둘, 셋을
When I
외치고
count 1, 2, 3, raise your index finger with your right hand.
10초 동안만 기다려주시기
After
바랍니다.
saying we're one, please hold
자,
for
그럼
10
외쳐볼까요?
seconds. Shall we
하나,
shout together?
둘, 셋.
1, 2, 3, we are one.
하나,
1, 2, 3,
넷,
4,
다섯,
5,
여섯,
6,
일곱,
7,
여덟,
8,
아홉,
9,
열.
10.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you.
이것으로 지구촌 전쟁 중심
This marks the end of the 5th annual commemoration of DPCW.
앞으로 각자의
I hope
자리에서
today's
평화를
event
위해
served as an opportunity
DPCW 를
for you to
어떻게
find good
지지하고
ideas
또
and
실현해
answer
나갈지
to
좋은
support and
아이디어와
implement
해답을
the
얻어가는
DPCW
시간이
for
되셨기를
peace
바랍니다.
wherever you are.
지속 가능한 평화가
Until
실현될 때까지
the sustainable
팬데믹
peace takes
시대에도
firm root,
평화를 위해
we'll be
힘쓰는
there for
우리
you,
모든
the
평화의
messengers of
사자
peace
여러분을
no pandemic
응원하겠습니다.
could stop.
네, 이상으로 지구촌
Thank you.
전쟁
This is
중심
the
평화
end of the
선언문
5th annual
제5주년
commemoration
기념식의
of the
모든 순서를
DPCW.
마칩니다. 5월 25일
Until we
세계
meet
평화
again
선언
on May
기념 이벤트에
25th,
다시 뵙겠습니다.
2021,
감사합니다.
I wish you good health and happiness. Thank you.